Hello, and welcome to another awesome recording of the SteamLUG Cast. Today is the 18th of March 2016. This is episode 4, season 4, episode 6. I'm already sweating. My name is Com, and I'm not doing this alone. With me is Dora.
Hi, that's me.
And Hero.
Greetings.
As usually, we will talk about what we've been playing lately in the beginning. So, Dora, what have been your games?
A while ago, a friend gifted me Sword Coast Adventures, and I've been trying that. Might have already talked about it, but it's been pretty fun. Not on Linux, but I also just picked up a copy of Pokemon Omega Ruby or whatever it's called, and I tried SUPERHOT. SUPERHOT. Okay. It was a fun game, but I ended up.
Did you finish it?
No, it has some problems on Linux, especially with the recordings.
As far as I know, the recordings aren't working at the moment on Linux at all.
Yeah, I actually returned it over that, but maybe I'll pick it up again when it's actually done on Linux. And lastly, I set up a Raspberry Pi 3 emulator box, and that has been a really fun toy.
Nice.
Was that Sword Coast Legends or
Let me see. I might have gotten.
Is it the more recent one?
Yeah, Sword Coast Legends. Sword Coast
Okay.
Adventures is the mini game for Neverwinter. I'm a dork.
That's okay.
I've been playing both, but one of them is a tiny browser game, and one of them is actually the new.
Got it.
So Sword Coast Legends is the one I've been playing.
Yeah, Sword Coast Legends. I was kind of excited about it, and I eventually got it, and I've not really been able to play it yet. But I'm really intrigued by the Game Master stuff that it has.
My only problem with it is that it makes your games an open lobby by default, so you can't really do single player without the possibility of strangers just jumping into your game unless you are really mindful of that.
Okay. Well, that's not so bad if you, as long as you are mindful. But yes, I understand.
Well, that's all for me.
So, Hero, tell us about your games.
I've actually not been playing quite as much as I usually do, but I've messed around a bit with Arma 3 for a couple of reasons that I'll talk about later. And I was in all the past events for the past 2 weeks, so that sums up my gaming.
Okay, tell us about your games, Corbin.
I've been also not playing a lot because a lot of busy time. But I've been last weekend to a LAN party, and there I was able to play with a friend Elite Dangerous again, even though I had to play this on Windows. But, well, it's a great game. I like it. I still want to have it on Linux, and if it comes, I'm prepared and I can fly through space. I also played a little bit of this, well, I don't know if you can call it a game. This name is TIS-100, and this is kind of a programming game.
I think it's a game.
Yeah. It's using the medium game, where you have some boxes which are connected with inputs and outputs, and you have a task to manipulate the data, and you have a limited set of instructions. So you can read data, write data from input and to another output, manipulate them in between, like arithmetic operations, swapping, whatever. And you just have to accomplish the task that is mentioned before you start the level. And this is quite challenging. It's nice to have a list where you can see what your Steam buddies have achieved so far. So you can see how many cycles they used for the problem, how many instructions, and how many of these boxes.
That's interesting.
And yeah, I'm surprised how much fun it makes. So if you are a programmer, you will probably have fun with it. as there are some achievements, like you have in one situation, you have to reduce the cycles, which is only possible if you parallelize the instructions. And it took me quite some time to get the proper solution, but it's really funny. I can recommend this game. And I also played SUPERHOT. And I think this game is really super hot. Even though we cannot upload our replays to Killstagram, which is the name of the platform where you upload them, but the game mechanics got me on the first level already. I don't know if this has been covered in previous casts, so I hope so.
Yeah, it has.
The game is it's also quite short, so I guess I will spoiler something of it. The time moves only when you move, and it's a mix of a shooter and a puzzle game, and you just have to kill red guys. If you shoot them, they will blast like diamonds. So the graphics is not very high detailed, but it's quite atmospheric. And the first levels are quite easy. You just get into the game, and everything is wrapped around, well, kind of a story. You are a guy playing on your computer and have just a text interface, a file manager, where you choose files, which are the options you want to execute. So if you want to exit the game, you have to execute the quit.exe file. And you have a chat with somebody who sends you a game file, which is called the superhot.exe. And then you play it. And when you start the game, it shows you a booting up screen, like from your BIOS. And it also makes a check for a VR head-mounted display. And later in the game, when you commence in the story, there is one level where you can see yourself. And you are sitting in front of some screens playing this game and wearing such a VR headset.
Right,
and the only thing you can do is hit yourself to finish the level. That's quite strange in the beginning.
I think this is getting kind of spoilery for how little plot the game actually has, but...
Fourth wall breaking spoilers.
Yeah.
I said I will spoil it, so you have been warned. Yeah, I won't spoil the end, okay?
Okay.
But this is only half of the game. So you're after you got back in the game, you have a headache, at least you say so in the chat. But you cannot say it in the chat because everything you write is overwritten with the words SUPERHOT. And this is where the story is getting some momentum. And I don't know, I would guess in 4 hours or something like that, you have finished the game. Depends on how you are playing it.
It depends on how much it's been spoiled.
Yeah, I won't spoil the end, but it's quite interesting. Yeah, and I had a lot of fun with it. And if you look at the Steam statistics, looks like over 60% have already finished the game, which is quite surprising. Because if you look at other games, about only 30% finish games. And this already has, after, I don't know how long is it out, a month, already 60% of the customers have already finished it, which is quite cool.
Well, I think that being a shorter game gives it a little bit of an advantage there.
Yeah.
I also really hope that they fix the replay issue on Linux.
Yeah, I think it's just not implemented at the moment. It's not a bug because I played it also on Windows, and there, when you finish the level, the letters SUPERHOT are coming, and it's switching between click the left mouse button to continue, or to hand over is the text, or press F5 to upload your replay. And on Linux, you don't have that text to upload it.
Right.
I managed to talk with a Mac user who has the game too. Apparently there it prompts you to hit F5, but the Killstagram link from the main page doesn't do anything, so I don't know if you'd actually upload to replays or not, but there's no way to see them from Mac.
Oh, that's okay.
Hmm.
But there are also some more secrets in the game. Each level has...
Wait, maybe you shouldn't
What?
spoil that.
No, I'm just saying that they are, not where they are. You have to look for yourself. But they are. In each level there is a secret. And
Okay.
they are quite hard to find. So the one way to have some time to look around is to throw your weapon onto the last enemy. If he has also a weapon, he will lose it. You can grab it, and then he will just follow you and tries to hit you. But it's easy to avoid his hits, and then you can look around and search a little bit for it. Which is also quite funny when you look at the other programs, which you can see in the file manager. There is a group chat where you just can read what other players or people are talking about. And one guy is coming in the chat and telling you some shortcuts which you can use when you finish the level. So you have, for example, a free camera. You can remove that SUPERHOT letters. So you have, without disturbance, you can look through the level. You can manipulate the time. Like you can, it's a replay, and you can increase the speed it's playing. You can rewind, stuff like that. And you also can have a free camera, and you can display yourself, so you can see where you are positioned in the level at what time. And your character is quite funny to look at. If you haven't seen it, it's worth to see that. All right. It's a really good game. It's super hot. I can recommend it. But enough. Now we can go on to the community stuff.
So, for our past events, on the 4th of March, we had Grid Autosport, followed by Factorio on the 5th. And then on the 11th, we had Sir You Are Being Hunted, and No More Room in Hell on the 12th.
Anyone go to those?
I was at all of those, at least for a minute.
Great. Yeah, I didn't.
I believe I played Grid Autosport for quite a while. I tested the server on Factorio, which worked to varying degrees, and stumbled around in the dark in Sir You Are Being Hunted before dying. Oh wait, no. Stumbled around in the dark and No More Room in Hell. But in Sir You Are Being Hunted, we had a lot of us, and that was pretty interesting. Before, when I played it, I was playing with the default settings, but this time I was playing with the spawning settings for the characters, for the enemies, which made for different gameplay pretty much every time, which was interesting. It's a survival stealth game, sort of. We were playing it cooperatively. As for upcoming events, after the cast, we are having a Frozen Synapse event, followed by Tabletop Simulator tomorrow on the 19th. Then next week, we are having an Arma 3 event on the 25th, which was previously Dying Light. That was sort of my mistake. I thought that the multiplayer worked fine on Linux, but only when Linux is the server. So we're changing that to Arma 3. And on the 26th, we are having Natural Selection 2.
I'm definitely looking forward to the Tabletop Simulator event. Do you have any ideas for what games we're going to be playing inside Tabletop Simulator, though?
I'm not quite sure. I know there are a lot of people who in Mumble were talking about it. They were maybe thinking about Uno or Poker or Monopoly or some others, I forget. And there's a huge variety. I know that there's somebody asking on the event description on Steam in the comments if anybody had suggestions. Have any ideas, Dora?
Not sure. I guess I should hang out and Mumble chat more. But if it's tomorrow, I guess we'll be able to figure it out then.
But in general, you can play every game that's available there, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to pay for a game you want to play there?
There are paid expansions, but for the most part, you can make anything in it, so you don't need to pay.
I guess a lot of people already contributed and created
Right, exactly.
games. And if I remember correctly, you don't have any license issues. So you can just copy a game which you bought from the store and recreate it in Tabletop Simulator and play it there.
That sounds suspicious, but I'm not a lawyer, so I can't really contest it.
Yeah, I heard that from somebody who is playing a lot of tabletop games, and he was looking for an alternative as his friends moved away and they had, I don't know, once a week an evening where they played, and that's not possible anymore. So he told me about the Tabletop Simulator and said that any game you can think of which is available in the store is available in the Tabletop Simulator, and he was wondering how this is possible.
Well, it's because it's all user-generated content,
Yeah.
so they can kind of get away with it.
That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, like, everyone can make their own Monopoly clone and upload it.
Right, exactly.
And nobody's going to be able to take them all down.
Mm-hmm.
Right, for the Natural Selection 2 event, they changed some things in the game, right? Because I see people now getting achievements.
There have been a lot of updates, that's why we decided to have this event. We talked about them in previous casts, but there have been some performance improvements as well as changes to hitboxes when there's a lot of latency, and there are now rookie games that are enforced where experienced players can't join, or can't play. They can join as spectators. So, because they've been focusing on it a little bit more, they hired some of the former community development team. We decided to have a new event for it.
So let's move on.
Moving on to Steam and Valve news. There was an update in the Steam beta client, which makes many improvements to the Steam controller yet again. This time, adding action sets. So action sets are basically the ability to switch every single key binding on the Steam controller. So it's different from the phase shifting. In this case, you would set a key binding for switching between them, and then you press that and it goes to the next one, which can have all different buttons in different configurations. This is specifically for games that do not have native support for the Steam controller, because if it's native, then it already has this feature. For example, if you're playing Portal 2, it'll have a different setup for the menus as when you're actually in the game. So this is just a way of adding a similar feature to what they call legacy games, those that don't support it natively. And I was pretty excited by this. This was some of my gameplay in Arma, because I was trying to make a single config that has a setup for infantry and vehicles and fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters all in the same config, which would be kind of difficult, but I'm working on it. The latest Unity beta now has native support for Steam VR, as well as a few other platforms. And on top of this, Valve has released for free a Steam VR rendering plugin for Unity, which makes integration with it a lot better. So if you're using these, it should basically give you easy access to the chaperone system, as well as, which is warning you in the game when there's physical objects in your way when you're doing room scale VR.
I think they display a grid. I haven't seen it.
With the Vive, it actually has a camera, so it would show you the actual thing in front of you.
Huh.
But it has, and when they eventually make it so that other lighthouse devices can be made, then if they don't have a camera, they would show the grid, like in the first Vive, the first public Vive prototype, that is. But it gives you access to that stuff, as well as the controller support, things like that. So basically, it's just a nice big abstraction that's tuned for VR specifically in Unity.
Yeah, Valve announced that they will have a cooperation with Unity.
Right. So this is some of the results. And the rendering plugin that they made is stuff that they learned from making their own demos. Some of their demos use Source 2 and some of them use Unity. Unfortunately, the plugin does not currently have Linux support, but they said that it will be coming soon. whatever that means in Valve time.
Yeah, I'm also wondering how about the Source 2 engine? Because Valve has its own engine. Why are they cooperating with Unity?
Well, they want people to make games. It makes sense.
Yeah, I think Valve kind of benefits from like any games being released at all ever at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
So, right now GDC is going on, or perhaps it's... Yeah, I believe today's the last day. Or... Anyway, GDC has been happening over the past week, and there's been lots of talks related to Vulkan. This includes one that Valve hosted relating to the Source 2 port, or the Vulkan port in Source 2. Porting Source 2 to Vulkan, that's the right way to say it. So, they confirmed that Source 2 does have fairly good Vulkan support internally at the moment, but the reason they've not yet released it for Dota 2, which is the only Source 2 game publicly available at the moment, is because they're waiting for Scaleform to release Vulkan support, which is the UI middleware that they use in parts of the game. They went on to explain that it's not quite fully optimized yet, and it also... Dota 2 isn't graphically intensive for the most part, so it's not the best case, but even still, they have very good results. They have much lower latencies for the rendering, as well as higher frame rates when things get exciting. In addition, they discuss some of the problems that popped up while doing the port, and provided tips for how to get around any issues, in case anybody wants to port their own engine to Vulkan. So you can watch it on YouTube, there's a video of the talk.
So let's move on to tech news. The Godot engine now has a quicker release cycle.
Yeah.
And they're starting with version 2.0.1. So I think you made a video about the Godot engine, didn't you, Hero?
Yes, they needed a showcase for the engine, and I decided to contribute my video editing. I don't want to call them skills because I'm not that good at it, but it works. They were showing it off. They were using that video at GDC, but it's not yet on the Steam page or anything yet.
Hero is becoming famous?
So, this quicker release cycle is sort of a reaction to being on Steam. They want to make it so that people who are using Steam, which are looking for releases that are built and ready to go, to be able to have access to bug fixes and small features that they might add. So, release early, release often, and here it is. So this will be a continuing trend where improvements that are in the main Git branch will be pushed into new versions and then released on Steam and the website.
Speaking of game engines, the Serious engine from Crow Team, which are making the Serious Sam games, are releasing their Serious engine under the GPL, and the famous porter Ryan C. Nicholas Gordon is working on the Linux patch.
Yeah.
And when I read it correctly on Twitter, he's merging a 15-year-old patch.
Yeah, exactly. So this had been on Linux 15 years ago, and trying to get it merged with their improvements that they've done over time since the patch, or since the port was completed, has proven to be quite difficult, but it will eventually be released, and you can see the source that's available right now on GitHub, but right now you cannot play it from building off that.
But it's cool that they are releasing it now. I think id Software also released all their old engines for free, and that's a cool trend. So there's also another game engine news, the Atomic game engine, now under the MIT license.
Right, so this is a 3D game engine that I believe was originally based off another open source game engine, but I don't remember which one that is. It has support for a few different scripting languages, I think including JavaScript and C#. Or, never mind, C# is being worked on, but it supports JavaScript, TypeScript, and C++. Also has support for 2D. Also, to clarify, Atomic Game Engine was based on Urho 3D.
Okay, and as we haven't had enough engine news, the CryEngine from Crytek is kind of free now, so you can pay what you want, and you will get full access, including source access. So in fact, you don't have to pay for it anymore.
But you have to develop with it on Windows, or?
Yeah, the Linux editor is not available. The Linux client, not yet.
Right, so it can build for Linux, but it cannot. I mean, the final games can be built for Linux, but you cannot edit on Linux yet.
So what about that AMD news?
AMD released a little video to introduce people to GPU Open. So if you're unfamiliar with the initiative and the way we explained it before was confusing, you can watch this and try to get a little overview. It goes over their focus and motivations with this initiative. Which, if you missed it before, is their open source middleware and examples for a lot of their technology that they use in games, or for games.
It's not directly related to Linux gaming, but the Raspberry Pi 3 also just came out like a week ago. Well, a week and a half ago.
Yeah, it's fancy.
Unsurprisingly, it's like the most powerful Raspberry Pi so far, and makes it like an actual practical gaming box, not for like high-end PC games and such, but if you run emulators or even certain indie games on Steam, it is surprisingly functional for that now.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, they kept the size and the connectors the same.
Right.
So you can have the same boxes as you had with the former version. And I guess they had to upgrade the hardware because there are other projects which already have, for about the same money, a better hardware. So it was just logical for them to upgrade it and to compete with the other projects.
I think the biggest addition is that it has onboard Wi-Fi now.
Yeah, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth is a pretty big improvement.
Anyways, I have one in my lap right now.
Oh, nice. And I guess they have USB 3 now. Is that correct?
That I don't know.
I didn't think that they had USB 3.
Does USB 3 look different?
It should have a blue connector.
I don't believe so then. It's just 4 regular old USB 2.0 ports, as far as I can tell. My tech expert girlfriend agrees.
All right, let's move on to the general gaming news section. Stardew Valley, which is kind of a Harvest Moon clone. The devs are considering a Linux port, where they stated ages ago, that it depends on the sales if they want to port it to Linux. But our well-known porter FlibbyTG Bibo is already working on a port.
An unofficial one?
Right.
Yeah, in his private time, unpaid.
So it was basically just an experiment to see how well FNA would map, and it seemed to work fairly well. Flibit did make a few changes in order to make sure that it worked. But after seeing that this work was being done, the developer commented, and it seems like they may be interested in doing a Linux port soon anyway. Don't yet know if it would actually happen or who would be porting it.
It's definitely one of the games I'm really looking forward to. My Windows gaming friends have been giving it really good reviews, and linking me screenshots from it. Seems like it fixes the main problems I had with the actual Harvest Moon games, namely that they were all heterosexual as heck, and characters in the game who are in same-sex marriages can also adopt kids, which is really cute. So it's what I'm actually considering for Wine if it doesn't come out in the next few months. I know I'm terrible, I'm a heathen, but there aren't many games like that out there.
Yeah, and as the sales really went well, it should be very likely that they give us a Linux port. So let's hope for the best.
Especially when they already see that it's working, that it can work.
Yeah.
Speaking of games we may be able to play soon, Payday 2 now has a Linux open beta branch, except that the depots are still encrypted, which means there's nothing to actually download, with the exception of if you own the soundtrack.
Yahoo! Yeah, looks like they're really working on the Linux port.
This just happened today, so it's really, it could be very soon that they unlock the depots, or it could be quite a while, but...
Well, really looking forward to playing that with y'all.
Yeah. We may have an event for that, assuming that it becomes available sometime next month.
Yeah, I'm also looking forward to Payday 2 on Linux. I have some friends playing it quite often, and as it's a 4-player co-op game, this should be a lot of fun. Even though they ruined their situation with the community with the microtransactions, the game still seems to be great.
It's not like they're going to give it up anytime soon. They have had plans for supporting it for many, many years.
I'm not sure what the situation with the microtransactions is, but to me it doesn't sound like a big departure from the constant DLC releases anyways.
Yeah, I also don't think it's a big problem, but what the problem was, at least, they said they will never have microtransactions, and then they introduced them, so that's a little bit disappointing.
Right, it's mostly just that people trusted that it would not happen. As far as the constant DLCs that they release, because they've been supporting it for so long, that's basically their income, and that's how they're able to support development, is by releasing paid DLCs, which they also release free updates. I mean, It's not only content that's locked away.
I'm not at all against the DLCs or microtransactions, really. I'm the kind of person who buys every DLC for a game if I'm actually into it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think I have everyone that was for Payday last time I was playing it in Wine.
And we have some more games which may be playable on Linux soon. So Life is Strange from Square Enix is showing some progress in coming to Linux. They have a launch config and empty depots which have been revealed on SteamDB. And this game is also quite interesting. It's released in episodes, which are all available right now.
It was also very highly acclaimed.
Yeah, I listened to a podcast where they were talking about Life is Strange, and they said that the first 2 episodes are a little bit weak, but then it gains momentum and gets really great then. Even though the ending is a little bit strange, but that's always a problem. So I'm looking forward to this game too.
Similarly, Warhammer 40k, Dawn of War 2, and Dawn of War 2 Retribution are now showing signs of Linux support. So I believe that there was another Warhammer game that was supposed to be coming to Linux. So it's nice to see that it's not just the upcoming one, but also some of their previous games.
Salamander Rake in chat mentions that Substance 2 is coming out with a Linux beta. I think I've heard of that. That's one of the 3D painting programs in the Steam software set.
Okay, that's cool. Frozen Synapse 2 has a new reveal trailer that shows little clips of gameplay, and it's pretty, and it's nothing terribly new compared to what we were told already in the screenshots we've seen, but it's nice to see they're sticking with the same sort of visual style as Frozen Synapse 1, but with a lot of graphical improvements that were probably brought over from making Frozen Cortex. So, if you're interested, there's the YouTube video.
Today we have really great transitions, because Stellaris also has a new trailer. Also available on YouTube.
And Stellaris, which, if you don't remember what that is, it is the 4X space game by Paradox.
So can you name the 4 X's? I think explore, expand,
exterminate, and extinguish.
Ah.
No, wait, that's not right. I don't know. Exploit. Expand. Explore. Exterminate. That sounds right.
Yeah. Also named Global Strategy.
Universal Strategy.
Universal, yeah, in this case.
Or wait, is it a Galactic Strategy? I think it's Galactic Strategy.
Yeah, it was revealed on the last Gamescom, I guess. And I heard it was the secret hint, which wasn't announced very big, but was the most promising game.
So, Arma 3, hooray, finally got its update to version 1.54. Before, the Linux client was on version 1.42, which was... That means that it jumped up in 5 major versions, 5 releases since our last one. We're still one version behind the Windows client at the moment, but that means we're compatible with a lot of the mods that before we were not, and there's still people who tend to not upgrade to the latest Windows version. They will use the previous one for compatibility reasons. So this is pretty exciting, and it's still not official, and there's still limitations. There's at the moment no BattleEye support.
Ooh, what happened?
There was never BattleEye support. BattleEye doesn't support Linux yet, not on the client side.
Because I thought the BattleEye client was on Linux through Arc Survival Evolved. Nope.
In Arc, they made it so that Linux users can't join official servers. So it is coming, but it's not there yet.
Okay.
So that's the other reason why I've been playing a little bit of Arma 3. As if I wouldn't play it anyway.
But if you look at the store page, it's still not obvious yet that you can play it on Linux, right?
Right, because it's still considered an experimental port, or a beta, and they don't want to publicize it yet until it's actually ready.
Yeah, but from what I heard from you, it's working already quite well, so the experiment is quite successful.
I mean, the little bit of communication from Bohemia Interactive makes it seem like it's very certain that it's getting into at least a much better state, in that they want to continue updating it for the rest of the year and maybe have more features that it doesn't support right now. But it's not official still. But hey, you should buy it anyway and play with me.
If it's on sale.
So the community has discovered a pretty big Easter egg in Prison Architect. Since at least the 1.0 release, there has been a hidden 3D mode that you can access in the extras menu. And nobody knew about it until only last week.
So that Easter egg was very well hidden.
Yes, so when you activate it, you can fly the camera around. You can actually just play it almost exactly the same as if you're playing in 2D, except things will move around as you change perspective. But you can also fly the camera down into the hallways and walk around sort of in your prison.
Guess I'm gonna have to check that game out again.
It's not entirely perfect. There are some things that are still flat on the ground as if it were 2D, but for the most part, it's it's pretty cool to just fly around in your prison.
So maybe it's like a planned future that isn't released yet.
That's almost what it looks like. But they still made it, and they've made it available for so long. It's crazy that nobody found it until now.
Maybe they wanted to wait until next week when we really have Easter.
Maybe.
And then reveal it. So, Day of the Tentacle, the remastered version, who is created by Double Fine, stated that the Linux version will not be available on day one. But as we know from Double Fine, they were very Linux friendly. I guess almost all of their games are available to Linux. This will sooner or later come for sure. They even recommend to buy it now, so when the ports are available, you instantly can access them.
Which, to be clear, it's pretty obvious they were recommending that you buy it now if you're a Windows user.
Well,
they weren't trying to tell Linux users to buy it early, but
who knows?
Yeah, but that does, I mean, if they were saying it just a little bit differently, that would probably be a little bit annoying to me.
Yeah, nevertheless, this is a quite clear statement that they are working on the Linux port.
Anything else?
The game Stasis should also come sooner or later, maybe, to Linux, as the devs are working on a Linux port right now. There is a thread in the Steam forums where they said they are setting up a Linux environment to test soon their engine. This is a horror survival game, if I remember correctly.
Right, I believe this is a horror, like isometric, an isometric horror game.
Yeah, and the graphic looks quite good. And as I'm a fan of horror games, like Alien Isolation, I hope they will not run into any issues when porting their engine and their stuff. So we will have that game too, sooner or later on Linux.
I hope to have it too, so that I cannot play it, because I don't like horror games. Or I'm too scared for horror games.
But yeah, don't worry. You can stream it and we will all hold your hand virtually.
Moving on to crowdfunding news. Overload, the 6 Degree of Freedom shooter made by developers on the original Descent team, was funded. This was almost not gonna make it. And I didn't think it was gonna make it.
Yeah, it was very close until the end. I think 10 days ago they just had half of the money they wanted to have. So it was very thrilling if they would make their funding goal. But they, from what I read, they had a playable demo version already online, also available for Linux.
Right, they had the playable demo. The last time I saw, it was only available for Linux users if they backed it, whereas Windows users, it was available for even if you didn't. But if you backed it, it's there. If not, maybe you could ask a friend. And it seems like it was their intention to make the Linux build public, but they just didn't. They don't care about us.
So who forgot to mention that last part?
So I forgot to mention in the last cast that Fluidjivity Bibo has a Patreon campaign now. So if you want to support his work, then you can go there and throw in a little bit of money each month. It'll give you access to his posts, early access to his posts whenever he's working on stuff.
Yeah, if you pay $10 or more, you get early access to his Google Docs.
Right, so there's a few little nice things in there, but if you want to support that and work on F&A independently from things that are specifically needed for ports, then that is the place to go. Yeah.
Nice. Nevertheless, I think we can sum this up. So, if you have feedback, you can email us at cast at steamlug.org. You can also find us on IRC, on the Freenode server, and the channel SteamLUG. You can find us on Twitter at SteamLUG. You can find us on Google plus SteamLUG. And we have a YouTube channel.
What's that called?
I guess SteamLUG. Woohoo!
Hooray.
So, thanks for listening. Thanks, Dora, for joining.
Thanks, Corbin, for joining.
Thanks, Hero, for co-hosting.
Yeah.
See you all next time.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Super.
Speaking of the past events, we
Hey,
can now move on to the SteamLUG community stuff.
you are missing me.
What? Dang it.
I didn't tell you what
All right.
I have been playing.
Okay, tell us
Hey,
about your
Corbin.
games, Corbin.
Okay. Finally I can talk about my games.
I think we can skip that one because I forgot to look it up and John mentioned it.
I need to stop spamming my push-to-talk key into the run sheet.
It's fine, we like those W's.
Sorry about the V's.
That's also a game. And I think it's also available on Linux.
It is.
Yeah, well, there's no new news about V. So,
So, who forgot to mention that last part? Wasn't mentioned on the last cast?
So, I forgot to mention in the last cast that
Ooh.
yeah.
Yoo-hoo! Yoo-hoo! Woohoo!